Probably be me too.
Okay. It says it's live. August 1st. Quickly. We're going. I'm waiting for this live to start.
Yeah, it could totally be me that's having the technical problem.
Let's see here. I think we should be live now in the world, but I can't hear anything. So I need to mute this there. This is strange. Whoa! My boom mic. It's going crazy. My microphone's going crazy.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Hey, everyone out there who's listening to us right now, I got to know, can you hear me talking? 4 minutes late. Shh. I told you it's an ish. Can anyone hear me? Michael, I cannot hear you at all. That's the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Turn the camera. Better? You guys can hear me. I can't hear you.
I can hear Reid. Hi, Mike.
This is new. This is different.
Hi, Blayne. I can hear Blayne.
What happens if I unplug?
I'll be right back.
Why don't you guys talk now?
I will keep talking.
No?
Nope.
Mike, keep talking and entertaining these people, these fine people.
Well, hello, fine people.
Hear you. While I try to figure out.
Actor can hear me.
Why I can't hear anyone.
Astrolus can hear me.
Change everyone that one. I'm going to change this one. Oh.
I will keep talking. How's everybody doing?
Heard something in my speakers that time. Maybe give you all a taste of.
Did anyone else get screwed over by like the fantasy app just like shutting
what I was
down
listening to on
Saturday?
Hulu?
No, what happened?
No, is that not going to work? Play.
The app just stopped working for me. Like it told me that Roblox had a 1 instead of a 4.
What in the world?
And so I
talk about Maxie's disaster class. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, Nats. That was not the performance many of us had hoped for. I'm super sorry if I'm talking over anybody. Because
you were totally talking over me, Reid, which is probably really funny for everyone.
I can't hear a darn thing. Okay. Got some sound out of that YouTube there. That random video. Can I hear Mike? Nope.
Can you hear me?
Can't hear Mike or Blayne.
This is weird. I feel like we're having two conversations at once. It's kind of interesting.
Reid is just talking to himself.
No.
You know, we're talking. It's kind of reminds me of like when we had Jason on the show. It's like Jason was off in his own little world.
Talking through my microphone.
Who else was talking?
Figure it out. I think that's it.
Can you hear us now, Reid?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Reid.
Oh my goodness. That was loud. That was loud. I think this is what everyone came here for.
Oh, to see guys, above my shoulder, there's the full selection. There's the full
live technical
I hate you
beauty. Are you guys talking again? Oh my god.
Yeah,
Reid, can you hear us?
Okay. I think I figured out what I need to change this time. You guys just keep talking again. This is ridiculous.
Okay. Mike, since I've got him up there, for anybody who's tuned in live, that is the full selection of.
It doesn't work if you guys don't talk.
Yeah, we are talking, Reid. We're talking.
Okay, I got it.
If you want to see the Fantasy Insider crew, try to do a
what?
live.
No, it went away.
I'll have it.
What is going on?
We could try to do a live play. I'm sure Mike and Reid will get in for that.
I got it. No, I got it.
Do you have this, Reid?
I got you. For some reason, whenever I plugged my headset in, the settings on YouTube weren't switching over to my headset audio. And I think this is just YouTube trying to push us off. They're like, this is it. You've got 2 more days of support before we push you into some garbage live cam thing that will not work for us at all. And we just don't care at all. So cool. Awesome. We lost 3 viewers doing that. I'm going to plug it on on Twitter again. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to send this out again.
They come back.
Come back, lost viewer. All right. So have you had a chance to play it yet, Blayne, or did you just get it today?
I got it yesterday. I got the last copy Target had in my town.
So the
closest town to me.
Because there's basically just like one Target near here. And so it gets overrun like really quickly. Like it took them like a month to get the last Villainous, the last expansion.
I just pre-ordered.
Yeah, well, we pre-ordered, but I think we pre-ordered late. Like it originally told us it was coming in on the 5th. Then it moved it up to the 28th, which is tomorrow.
Oh, I had it shipped to my house.
It said it.
That's what I did.
That's what to me. Did.
I've had other things to work on. Like I had a hard drive crash, so that took my weekend. And since I had to borrow a solid state from work, and so I just got mine in, so I have to clone what I had on the work solid state back to my new hard drive. Decided to pick up a new phone while I was at it, because when you get one new piece of tech, you need multiple. You know how it goes.
Okay, so what's going to happen, guys? Everyone listening right now, thank you so much for joining us. Ryan, Patrick, Nats, Matt S., Ron, and I got to scroll up for anybody else. Whoever else is here, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry for the brief technical difficulties that we had, and thanks for Blayne joining us. Didn't think that was going to happen. So right next to me, I have some special items that I'm going to be doing a reveal for. I said 5 minutes, so 9:45, 4 minutes now. I'm going to do a special reveal for everyone here that is watching / listening. The listeners, you'll just get to hear me describe it. Those of you who are watching with us live, 15 of you now, thanks so much. You get to see it. I've got some the new sticker for Patreon. Standard update, as everyone might have expected, and the new swag that I have been talking about on the show for the past few weeks. That's what I've been waiting before sending out everything, as I wanted to get these new items in. I'm going to show them now for the first time for what everyone's going to be getting at the different tiers. I made this change. The reason I made this change is because we had been trying to do live episode chats as some of the rewards for our Patreon members. And now that Mike got that figured out, it seems like this is just working better as a normal interaction to have between everybody. New swag, it's coming. It's coming. It seems like the live chat is just going to be a great way for us to interact with people all the time. And so wanted to open that up for everyone, not just limited to Patreon, but I don't forget my Patreon people, our Patreon people, we the Patreon people. Don't forget you. So I'm trying to get some cool stuff for you guys. If this works out, if you like it, what I might start doing is just reordering every year to make it sort of maybe get some different colors of what you're going to see, maybe have some cool little themes. Maybe we can get some other ideas from the community going of what you guys might like. So it's been pretty cool. I hope you like it. I'm just vamping now. We got 3 more minutes, 9:45. Gonna throw it out there for the patrons that are there. So yeah, excited to talk about this week and the coming week. Lots of fun things happen. So good times indeed. Let me get this chair out of the picture. I don't like it. It's not working for my feng shui right here. What is working for my feng shui? Jersey. Heck yeah. Heck
Wait,
yeah.
did you just get that?
Over here. Yes. 5 months, everybody. 5 months. I ordered this jersey February 12th. It came last Saturday. 5 months. Multiple messages to Fanatics Twitter support.
How many home games do you have left that you can wear it to?
I will have this for the Hell is Real Derby. Sir, thank you very much. Just in time as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of that, I will be at the Columbus, at least the Columbus leg of the Hell is Real Derby. The first Hell is Real Derby for regular season, not counting that preseason one. But that wasn't even here. That was off in training camp too, so doesn't count. The first real Hell is Real Derby, I will be there. If anyone listening or watching us is also going to be there, Cincinnati fan, Columbus fan, random person who's just showing up, look for me. I'll wear the hat. I don't know where I'll be sitting in the visiting supporter section, I assume, but I'll be around. Give me a shout out. I'll have my phone on me. Hit me up that way. And if you want to, we'll see if I can meet up. Maybe I'll bring a couple of scarves or something. So we'll see what happens. I'll definitely be getting a Hell is Real Derby scarf. So maybe I'll try to hang around and get some autographs. That would be sweet. That was sweet. 1 minute, T-minus 1 minute before we have the big reveal. Nats over here. Shout out to Matias Almeida for being the greatest manager in all of MLS, for subbing out Tommy Thompson before Colorado conceded. Yes, I didn't put him on my team, but I talked about him last week in my in my article. So I did okay with defense, though, in general. But yes, for subbing him out. Also, let's talk about one of like an MLS coach quote rivaling Mike Pecky talking about these kinds of fouls wouldn't stand on the moon. That's just great. That's just great.
Was that Pecky or was that Pareja?
Pareja down there in Houston.
Dallas, you mean?
Dallas. No, wait, it was Houston. No, I'm getting confused. It was the Houston coach. It was the Houston coach.
Oh, that's right. Pareja. I had the Houston guy's image in my head.
Yeah, you've got
Pareja is not in MLS anymore.
You're right. Oh. He left last week. We were talking about Cabrera. Wilmer Cabrera.
That's
our bad. Sorry, Travis. Sorry, Phil. Sorry, other Mike. I'm going through the other Mike. I'm going through the fans that I might get messages from. Sorry, Ryan. Though that I think I pronounced his name right, so I don't think that's one. But we're doing. All right, here we are. 9:46. 1 minute past. All right, here we go. Terrified of Gareth Butchers this week in the Patreon head-to-head. There can be only one yes, Ron. Be afraid of the Patreon head-to-head. It is vicious. It is vicious. Here we go. The reveal, starting out with the basic item, the 2019 MLS Fantasy Insider sticker that goes out to all the tiers. You'll see the standard update. It's just reversed, but 2019 MLS Fantasy Insider. Fantastic sticker. I love seeing pictures of these around on Twitter. I know that our good buddy Tim likes to slap one of them up over there at Red Bull Arena. So send me your pictures of the MLS Fantasy sticker out and about in the wild. These are the new ones that will be going out to everyone. Okay, next, the next tier item. So we like having, and let me know. That's right. Mike's got his sticker right there on his book. We like having our little potent and non-potent potable item that we have. But right now, our pint glass is very high up there in the supporter tier. So I wanted to give something else out there that we could enjoy safely for either brown liquor episodes of Extra Time or whatever favorite beverage you may have, as my Avast antivirus pops up in the way. So what we have cool right here is the MLS Fantasy Insider koozie. That's right, koozie for your bottles, for your cans. Wait, bottles? Yes, bottles. Comes with a bottle opener right here on your koozie. I thought it was going to have the logo on the bottle opener, but it did not. Maybe next year. But little storage right there, MLS Fantasy Insider. Koozie, going to eye maybe the $5 one for this. The stickers go out to everyone. And then we got maybe this is the 5, maybe 3. We'll see what happens, but at least definitely the 5 at least for something like that. We still have the pint glasses that are up there around the 15. Looking at the $10 mark right here. Now, I know whenever I am out and about traveling, when I'm at the gym or when I'm just out riding my bike or out for a stroll, I like to have something to carry because I don't like putting my phones and stuff in my pockets. And even when I go to the game, I like to have something, and these I believe are pretty much stadium legal at most places, but the MLS Fantasy Insider drawstring bag right here
nice.
In black. Yeah. Good string right there. Comes back out. Good storage space. I feel like I'm on the Price is Right now. MLS Price is Right. I guess that's called the Super Draft. But right here, MLS Fantasy Insider drawstring bag. I'm thinking this is going to be the $10 area. Nifty. Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, I really do love these things. I've got a whole bunch of drawstring bags from when I used to run my university's computer store, and that was a pretty fun thing for people to give. And I love them. Like, I really do. I bring them out to Nippert Stadium. I carry a few things in there, usually scarves or other items. I hope that doesn't usually I hope it doesn't usually end up happening, but I still hope like I might meet someone to get an item signed. I'll carry around them in there, and they're stadium legal, super convenient. I love them. That's what I've got. Stickers. We've got the koozies. We've got the drawstring bags, and of course we have the pint glasses and the scarves for our highest level patrons, as well as guest appearances on the show with us. We had Jessup earlier trying to get everybody else scheduled going out there. Nippert doesn't have a clear bag policy. Do you mean clear, Nats, as in you don't understand it, as in it's convoluted, or as in you can see through it? Your message is not quite clear. If the answer is they don't have a policy about bags you can see through, not from my reading of the rules for Nippert, they talk about the size of bags, and so they have people who go through them. Which I don't know. I've never been to another. Well, scratch it. I have been to the All-Star game up in Colorado, so I've been to one other MLS stadium. But with Nippert, they have the bag, the security line where they check your bags and everything away from the front gate, maybe like 500 to 1,000 yards. And so they go through your stuff before you get up there to give me your ticket, and it goes really quick. And I've been super impressed by that. Is that what it's like at the other stadiums around you guys, Blayne?
Yeah, I think there's a size limit at Sporting Park, and I don't think there's a clear bag restriction, but I think drawstring bags are illegal. I think I've seen a few bags that are a little bigger than that in the stadium too, but that just may be Cauldron special perks too, because they allow us a little different.
Mayhaps, maybe that's like a merce. That's what it is, a sports merce, I guess. I don't know, but that's what we've got. All right, Red Bull's non-clear bags allows non-clear bags. However, they do change the rules for bigger games. That makes sense. That makes the size limits at Mercedes-Benz. Well, awesome. So I hope you guys can get these bags in as well. Take pictures, send them on Twitter. I love it. And if people in the stands ask you what's up, tell them about it. MLSFantasyBoss.com, at MLSFI, all the stuff that goes on. But now we are here to talk fantasy, review of round 21, preview of round 22. Perfect for hike days as well. Yes, it's going to be a great episode, I think, because it was so much fun to enjoy MLS this weekend. So let's get started with that. And of course, for everyone listening to us, we got to do the intro. So those of you watching, enjoy.
By the way, Reid, my camera went off, but I'm going to be trying to be fixing it. So if the people online are wondering what's going on, my camera just like randomly disconnected. So.
Got it. I mean, this is how the show goes. It started out me not being over here, but I can't see you. Blayne's got his awesome hat though, so let's do this. Okay, here we go. All right, there we go. Hello, fantasy managers, and welcome to round 22 preview episode of the MLS Fantasy Insider. This episode is brought to you by the movie Cats. Now introducing Tinto, the soccer cat. Wait, no. Actually, brought to you by MLSFantasyBoss.com and the amazing subreddit community of r/fantasymls. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by usual co-hosts Blayne Riffle and Michael Denton. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, glad you could make it. Get some with your wife and daughter out. Glad you could come and spend some time with us. Of course, we had to say hello to our live chat. Thank you again for joining us, everyone out there, and being with us for the little preview of some of the new swag for the Patreon. I'll try to make a separate video for that to post on the Patreon. But and thanks to everyone listening to us out on SoundCloud or iTunes or Spotify or whatever else you're listening to us at. Thank you so much for joining us. Got a great show, I think, because it was a lot of fun last week and some interesting conversations coming up for round 22. So let's get started. Round 21 review. How did your teams do, Blayne?
87 for the round. I think that's a little bit off the pace of the leaders, but I did maintain a top 300 spot with it. Overall, just a bunch of mixed scores in there. A lot of single digits this week. Maxi Morale is going out really hurt. I did talk about captaining him. I did switch it up to Vela while I was out. I saw the Kansas City lineup with Espinoza in there, and I'm like, yeah, they're going to kind of run a destroyer midfield. Espinoza, Benny, and Ilie are going to be really hard to break down. And then Morales went off injured, which kind of sucks. So took the point there. But I did captain Vela, best score on my team before the double, so I'll take it. Overall, just not great, but it was good enough.
Mike.
So I had 89. I kind of think everyone had pretty much the same kind of range from what I could tell. My main issue is that for some reason my app stopped updating mid-game. I'm not sure if others have had this problem or not. But like at the end of the Red Bulls Columbus game, I had a keeperoo with Luis Robles, and it told me I had 1 point for Robles. So obviously, with just 1 point, I swapped in Irwin because I was desperate and like, well, in case something crazy happens in the Colorado San Jose game. After that, it refused to show me that Irwin was actually in, and then showed that later, like an hour on later on, that Robles had actually gotten 4 points, not the 1 point that it showed me at the very end of the Columbus Red Bulls game. I'm so tired of this provider just not working. I'm so ready for them to just dump this provider and just get back to something that works on a consistent basis. Because especially with keepers and switcheroos, it's got to work, and you can't trust it to work, and it boggles my mind. But I mean, 89 is not the worst score this week, but I'm so done with this provider.
Yeah, definitely some weird things with the provider. I can't say that I experienced the same problem, but usually when I'm checking my team throughout the week, and maybe other people chat, if you're listening, let me know. Usually when I'm checking throughout the week, I'm just going to MLSsoccer.com and looking at the scores that way. So I don't actually really use the fantasy app a lot for checking my scores. It's just if I need to make a change. Like I see a lineup, I go through and do that for the change. So I didn't see that. But yeah, that's a super bummer. I saw you post it on Twitter, and I felt bad. But I mean, Robles only got 4, so not a huge loss.
Well, but it did cost me some head-to-heads because it was like 89 to 91. So,
and that's where the real game is. Head-to-heads. Myself, yeah, I fell in the same general range as these guys and many of the top players this week. 84 points, not too bad. My defense let me off a little bit. Like I can't be too upset. The real disappointment on defense for me was New York Red Bulls. I had one Red Bull player, and so 2 points there, didn't do much. But I had Omar Gonzalez, got me 6 points. I had Cannon coming off my bench for 7 points. That was really great. In my midfield, I had Morales, so I got that 1 point there. Definitely a disappointment. But I had him captained until the last minute, and I was just like, nah. What is it? What is it? Chat said. What is it that we say in the podcast and on all the social media? ACB, Ollie's Captain Vela, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that. Took it off Maxi at the last minute, and it paid out for me. Definitely big time. Had Vaco and Pozuelo, left Paz in. That was the big switch. I was going to go with Paz or Valeri. Hindsight, would have liked Valeri, but I was hoping for more against Cincinnati from Pozuelo. Big letdown was definitely Ethan Finlay. We'll get to that Minnesota in general, but yeah, Ethan Finlay didn't do much for me. I was hoping a little bit more from Minnesota, but I did have Hebert on my team, and I got 7 points there, and I got the 4 points from Robles and 30 from Vela. So not a bad round overall. 84 points, won my head-to-heads, which we'll talk about now. Let's see here. Quick look at how people in chat were doing. Let's see here. We got 104 points from Thomas. That's awesome right there. 97 points from Ryan. 92 points from Nats. 104 from Ryan. Skiles, that's you're there in our Patreon league. I believe you're killing it there. I got 80 points, 105, 102. Yeah, you people doing awesome. You guys are doing awesome, and I hope everyone listening through the podcast is also doing equally as well. I love it when I see people sending us messages on Twitter saying, hey, thank you so much. I'm doing the best I've done I can't even talk. Blah, blah, blah. One more time. When you say thank you, I'm doing better than I ever have in any of my previous years. There we go. Got it out. I love that. I don't care if you do better than I do. I don't care if you do better than these guys do. Or if you do less. As long as you're having fun and feeling like the advice that we're giving you is helping you, then I am happy and I'm excited for you. So congrats to everyone who was doing awesome. Going to our head-to-heads, though, Mike, your narrow loss against Jason Sagini, I guess that's where your points could have helped you with 89 to 91. Those 3 extra points right there could have given you that edge. Blayne, you lost the MLSFI Derby against Mike, but you won the Patreon Derby, I guess, because you beat Jessup. Right there, Blayne over Jessup Gage. What? Do you guys have a name for it?
That's the Tacos Derby. We play another competitive league, and this is the one time we meet up outside that league. And yeah,
the Tacos Derby right there. Well, you won that one pretty handily, 87 to 75. So nice there. I beat Weeby handily. It's not really handily. It's sort of like just like a check. It's like, all right, you've gone this far in your fantasy career. You have to be able to beat Weeby to continue on. If you don't, you've got to go back to step one and just start all the way over. So beat Weeby 84-56. Very nice. Top score of the round goes to our Minnesota friend, Steve McPherson, again with 109 points. Fantastic score right there. But big props to go to Sherry, who has taken the lead, one of our top Patreon supporters. She is now the lone person, 6-0-0. Patrick, that one choice kept me from beating Reid in head-to-head. Uh-oh. So sorry. So sorry, Patrick. Moving on to our Patreon league. You guys, you're doing too well. You're just doing too well because there's still 4 of you tied for first place. Come on. It's gonna come down to points, it's looking like. If you all stay tied because you're just gonna keep being awesome, it's gonna come down to points. So it's great. I love seeing it. 4 people tied, 5-0-0. Bodie, HG, Skiles, and Seagraves, all right there tied, and it's just the point differential that's separating everybody. So congrats, way to be. Now let's move on and talk about what our takeaways are from this round that's going to help you going into round 22. So surprising moments, fantasy takeaways. I'm going to start with Blayne and Mike. Everyone listening in chat right now, get your questions ready. Maybe start posting them, and we'll address those after Mike and Blayne finish talking. So let's start with you this time, Mike. Your top surprising moments.
My top surprising moments, you kind of covered it. The Red Bulls losing to Columbus. I think we all kind of looked at that game as one of the bigger games of the week. And Red Bull scoring 2 wasn't a surprise, but them conceding 3 certainly was. The other big surprises, I have 2. I think Maxi Morales getting hurt and giving us a 1 certainly counted, although I was kind of concerned about him in particular when I was talking about phantom injuries before the All-Star game, and we'll talk about his status in a little bit. And then I think the biggest surprise, just like the MLS week in general, was Montreal drubbing the Philadelphia Union 4-0. I didn't see that coming. But Piatti coming back, and then the new winger, which do y'all know how to pronounce the new winger?
Lassi Lapalainen.
Lapalainen. I had to watch the Montreal highlight video a few times, but it's Lapalainen. Apparently, he goes by Lassie, so I'm sure
I can do that.
We'll either do Lassie or Lap or something like that on here because Lapalainen is not going to work too often for us. But I mean, he looked really good in his first time. Piatti came back and played only 60 minutes. I'm not sure if that was, a planned thing or because they were up 3-0 by the point he came off. If they just felt like we might as well manage our minutes. But them coming back strong with the new signing is certainly really interesting.
Blayne, your surprising moments.
Yeah. What was the score? 4-3 for LAFC in Atlanta. We've been talking about LAFC having a strong defense at home. We know Atlanta's had a potent offense. I think this just goes to prove how strong Atlanta's offense is to go in and put 3 goals up on the road. I've questioned their defense off and on this year, especially on the road. But for Atlanta to hang 3 on LAFC in LA, it was just a huge surprise. I think a lot of people were looking at LAFC's defense a little bit for this one, if you could afford them. I kind of did at the beginning and switched away from them because of price. But, yeah, that one was a little bit of a shocker for me. There was one other one. Portland getting the 4-0 win at home against the Galaxy. We've questioned Portland's defense on and off since the second half of last season. To shut out Zlatan and the rest of the team, not a small task, especially when you've got the game kind of handily won like that. Let off the gas and let them get one back on you. So the Portland shutout there was a little bit surprising. I think that defense is turning around a little bit again.
I agree. You guys have hit on the 3 things that I had down there. It wasn't just Atlanta's almost comeback that stood out to me. It was the speed at which LAFC got those goals. That was just a machine, and it came from multiple targets. So it's not all on Luis Vela, which hurts his value a little bit, I have to say. I mean, as long as he's still involved in assists or things like that, that helps. But the ability of players like Rossi or Atuesta or Kay or Diamande, anybody else like that to score hurts Vela some, and it's a little bit of that Houston problem that we've had is where are you going to find the points? So, but I mean, he's still racked up a 15 for us, so whatevs right there. They've been going. Santos is Columbus win, of course, has to be very high on the list. I agree, Mike. But it's Santos who's been playing as that number 10 role in Higuain's place. He was only active or only scored well during the double game week in one of their 2 games. Then he scored again this week. He's had some shining moments in the past, so that's an early takeaway, I think, as well. So that's probably who you're going to want to look at if you do want to roll a dice on a Columbus player. Other ones tend to be a bit more toss-up right now. And then I'm going to add one more on there. The dual clean sheets in Minnesota versus Vancouver. Holy crap. I did not expect that at all. I was super bummed that Minnesota did not do well. I had Toy on my bench. I had Ethan Finlay in the middle because he'd been getting some more action recently. Was really counting on Vancouver not getting the job done. And they did well. So props to Vancouver and everyone out there who's listening to us, getting it done out there. So good job. I think it was something like 30-something clearances or whatever I thought I saw in one of the articles about what Vancouver did. But they did well. Interesting to consider that going into that game against FC Cincinnati coming up this weekend. So fun, surprising moments there. Fantasy takeaways, Blayne.
I didn't get to watch any of the games this week. I was out doing stuff with family, so I only saw the few scores that I had on my team. So nothing for me this week.
Mike.
My fantasy takeaway is that New York City and me have clinched the MLSFI Derby for the year. I think that's the most important thing for us all to talk about. Just how much better my team is than either your team, Reid, or your team, Blayne. I think that's what the people want to talk about.
Well, I mean, I hope the people weren't using my team as your measuring stick for greatness. that I think actually subtracts from your team.
Well, it's not. I mean, what else am I going to do in the MLSFI Derby? It's not my fault you picked a terrible team. No, I didn't have any other big takeaways other than I'm really glad that MLS spent a whole week hyping up the League Cup and then forgot to talk about the LAFC Atlanta game, and that was just such an amazing game.
Your opinions, I think, on the League Cup are well documented, well documented on Twitter and the last show. So I think we've covered that pretty well. No, interesting. The one thing I will add about the League Cup is it was interesting for me to see how serious Liga MX took it, rolling out those big players. I know that people were talking about that this is part of their plan of trying to build their audience in the United States, and good for them, whatever their strategy is. But it just leaves me wondering if Liga MX comes in taking this seriously, does it make MLS teams take it more seriously? And I honestly don't know, and I'm kind of still leaning towards no, just because of all the playoff implications that are being thrown around at this time. But it was interesting still for me to see how Liga MX took it seriously just based on the lineups that they rolled out. So we'll see how that evolves. Fantasy takeaways, though, to give Mike his credit, my first fantasy takeaway is, have you been paying attention to Hebert? Because I think the dude had under 2% ownership going into this round. He got another goal. He's been scoring for like 7 or 8 games in a row. Is that something like that, Mike?
Yeah, it's
super
like
cheap.
7 of 8, something like that.
It's crazy, super cheap. So you got to be looking at this guy, if nothing else, for an off the bench switcheroo. Should be having some more free budget at this point to be able to make something like that happen for a little bit more expensive player. Looking again at Bo and Hill over there in New England, getting it done 4-1. Surprised that Orlando didn't do better. Thought they had been doing well on the road, even against New England, improving, but New England just still keeps going, and Bo got another goal. Got to take that into consideration, making some of these picks going forward. I mentioned Whitecaps a second ago. Fantasy takeaway from me that I'm looking at that is they're on the road against FC Cincinnati, which has still been struggling some. So it might be interesting to maybe even double up on Vancouver this week. Maybe start one, have one on the bench as a switcheroo, and maybe get 2 shots at a clean sheet just to see what happens against FC Cincinnati. And then finally, to build off what Mike was saying about Montreal, for me, Piatti starting. He assisted for a goal in his first start back, and Montreal won. So important takeaways right there with Piatti back into the picture and what that means for Montreal going forward. So let's, yes, Lapalainen, Ron. That is, no need to be sick about it. Lapalainen. That's what we're going with. Let's go to chat. Let's see some of the surprising moments and fancy takeaways that you all have. Montreal, their new forward. Yes. Lassie. I kind of wish that he was playing. Maybe he'll come to Nashville or something. They could call him like Lapalachen, something like that. I don't know. We can figure out some fun things like that. Portland. Shannon's mentioning Portland's doing great. Thought they did well, but didn't expect them to shut out Zlatan and the Galaxy. Yeah, that was a huge game. A big red card and some controversy during that game as well. And I know that there's a Zlatan card, which I know Mike will talk about again coming up, but we'll just tease that now as a fancy takeaway. He's not available in the next game, so that's a big takeaway for there. We guess. I mean, who knows? Maybe a new Garber rule will come down that just lets Zlatan go. Though I guess it depends on, is the next game televised nationally?
Which one?
LA's next game, is it? I think is that what determines if Zlatan actually gets a yellow card?
Yeah, pretty much. I think he might have.
I thought it was.
We'll see. I think he's actually out next week, so keep an eye on
he might have a Unimas game.
Oh, so there we go.
No, it's a Fox game. LA is going to be at Atlanta.
Wow.
It's a Fox game.
He's starting.
Matt mentions Monteiro is still out for Philly, and that's hurt them offensively. Definitely agree right there. He's a huge player for their offense right there. With hope he'll come back maybe around for the team wise. With hope he'll come back around playoffs, since it looks like they're going to secure a nice spot right there, make a good run this year. And for fantasy side, maybe he'll come back for us because he was definitely a great go-to pick right there. Let's see here. VAR. Yeah, that's for sure. They were on fire this week. Let's see here. New England is hot.
Vaca scores again.
Vaco scores again. Yeah, Vaco's been doing fantastic. Vaco and Arison are 2 of the hotter picks for San Jose's midfield. I prefer Vaco. He's cheaper, and he's been doing, I think, on better form recently. And Ericsson's around 0.8 to $1 million or so more expensive than Vaco, so I think Vaco's the better deal right there. What is it, 3 starters out for LA Galaxy against Atlanta? Yeah, I think that's at least 2. At least 2, Patrick. So some good stuff we can talk about coming up. All right, great. You guys had a lot of great takeaways as well. Wish we could talk about that longer, but we're going to keep on moving. Anything else, Mike or Blayne, you want to add before we go on to our housekeeping?
Keaton Park started again. He got 6 points. He was a 5.0 midfielder. I think he's at 5.4. Pretty good differential, cheap option, especially with questions about Maxi Morales. He seems like he's definitely earned a starting role for New York City. He's a little bit more of an attack-minded midfielder. Obviously, he's not as good as Maxi Morales, but if you're looking for cheap options, I think he's someone to pay attention to.
All right. Let's move on to our housekeeping section, Patreon housekeeping section. We teased the Patreon swag before the show started. So for those of you who are listening to the show now, we've got the stickers in. We've got some cool MLS Fantasy Insider koozies that come with a little elastic band to hold a bottle opener, so it's all in one. And then we also have drawstring bags with the MLS Fantasy Insider logo on there. All these items are going to be part of our Patreon tier reward system, since we're doing live chats now for regular every day, every time we do this show. And Patreon is just the community that we have that helps us all get involved and spread the fantasy fantasy love and fun and just grow the community. We have the special league for our Patreon followers. We have the special swag for our patrons. And it is because that we do get financial support from all of our wonderful patrons that helps us get these swag items and provide the prizes for the league. So if you want to learn more about Patreon, head over to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/MLSFI for more. Now the rest of the housekeeping. This is a regular week again. No double game week again. Repeat, no double game week. That means this round is starting on Saturday, August 3rd at 5 o'clock p.m. with Atlanta versus LA Galaxy. Diminished LA Galaxy, as we've already discussed. There are no double game weeks, and there are no teams on a bye. So this is everyone's involved. If you're looking for switcheroos, look at the teams on Sunday. You've got 6 teams right there. There's several options. We got cheap players at all the positions. You can definitely make something work, especially with the budgets that most people have. Should be pushing 115 or higher at least by this point of the season. And you know what? That was quick. That was to the point. That's it. So now, Mike, injury update.
All right. Obviously, the big fantasy one, we talked about it, is Maxi Morales. He left early with a calf issue, but reportedly he is in Orlando and is good to participate in the MLS All-Star Game. I'm a little dubious about that, but we'll have to see. Big thing to remember this week, if you're selected for the MLS All-Star Game and you don't play, you are automatically suspended for the next game. So if Maxi Morales cannot play in the All-Star Game, he will miss the match against RSL. In that same match against Sporting Kansas City, Espinoza received a red card. So as soon as he's back, he's now out again for another game. We talked a little bit about the dust-up in Portland and the Galaxy. Red cards were issued to Alvarez, Asprilla, and Polenta. So they will all be suspended for their respective teams coming up. And then, as noted, Zlatan will be suspended for yellow card accumulation, or he should. But as we said, it's a national TV game, so maybe they'll make up an excuse to get rid of that yellow card. The only other injuries that I noted were Brad Smith came off early for the Seattle Sounders, and then Rui Diaz missed for a concussion this weekend. So I don't know if he'll be available. I have sent a note to Ashley Savage, our Seattle reporter, to see if we can get some inside scoop on that, but I haven't heard back from her. So that is the thing that we're looking at. And so, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Mike, one clarification. I'm pulling it up right now. That is Alvarez for LA, but they have 2 of them. So that is Efren Alvarez, not Flavio, whatever the other one is. There's 2 Alvarez's on LA, so we got to make sure we get the right one.
Gotcha. Good.
So, Mike, are you going to advise people to stay away from people involved in the All-Star Game, or just hesitation and then check a lineup?
Well, I mean, I don't think. I mean, just kind of double check and make sure that there's no like injuries that accumulate. I don't think it's enough that for most of these teams or players that it's going to take them out at this point. It's just if they don't play, if they're not available, then they're suspended. But I mean, we'll know all of that by the time that the lineups are. So I don't think it's really that big of a deal or that big of a factor for most players. Maxi Morales is really the only exception, but it's more of the All-Star Game on top of a pretty busy schedule for him because he went so far in Open Cup and all of that.
I like this comment from Ron. It's a scrimmage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they're all. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Blayne.
Oh, I was gonna say the Maxi thing. He may be there so he can work out with the team, and that the league office will see, hey, he's here, but he really is hurt. He's not ignoring a call up. He may be there saying, I've got tightness, I can't do this, and that
David
may be enough.
Did that, and they suspended him too. So it doesn't just showing up isn't good enough. Like the league office has gotten very strict on that, or at least they have in the past.
Yeah. And hopefully league doctors or whoever's in there, maybe it's Orlando medical staff, won't clear him to play even though he's down there trying. And that may be good enough for the league.
Are they going to start judging by effort? Like put him out there, just let him walk around?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look like he was super hurt on Saturday. He was kind of standing around and walking around after the game. So, I mean, he did have to come off fairly early, and was an injury or is an issue he had at halftime, and he tried to play through it and couldn't.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking now. I know there's a lot of wrestlers who live down in Orlando, and maybe that's where WWE even is filmed. I don't know. But like they all get together, they start planning and like thinking it out, and they just start choreographing their injuries for run trips. Oh no, I can't. I gotta come off. Oh no, I tried. I tried so hard, Garber. I tried. Garber runs out there on the field. People's elbow. Sorry. Sorry.
Can you smell what Don is cooking?
It would be Gam. He's cooking Gam and Tam. That's what the Don is cooking. New contest. Your best Don Garber wrestling tagline. If there was ever a joke contest that I started on this show that I wish people would actually respond to, it's this one. It's this one. Please send me your best Don Garber wrestling tagline. That would be great. Okay, no, let's get on. I'm just like thinking in my head. I'm spiraling down into all this. You got all your injuries covered, right, Mike?
Yeah. LGP apparently is missing for yellow card accumulation, according to Patrick Smith, which I hadn't caught. So add that to the list.
All right, well, let's go to our round 22 preview. Everything coming up this week, some great times. Hey, we got Sean here. What's up? Let's start out real quick with just the standard questions. Off the top, Mike, any players that you are a hard pass on? Absolutely do not consider these guys. And which game do you think would be the best for fantasy points this week?
I don't know that there's a whole lot of hard avoids. My kind of opinion on this week was kind of summed up neatly by a question we got from Mark DuPont, which is that I feel like this week is a matchup of a lot of the good teams playing good teams and bad teams playing bad teams.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like 50-50 toss-ups there. So I don't think there's a whole lot of like, this is a trap game. For me, kind of like looking outside of other than, these are going to be the bigger games and the closest things to mismatches. San Jose against Columbus. We know how well San Jose has been doing, and even though Columbus is in a little bit of an uptick, I think that's a clear advantage for San Jose. And then Seattle against Sporting Kansas City. So those are the two games I'm really looking for points. The only like must avoid player to me is probably Maxi Morales. Since he came off injured and he's going into altitude, even if he is available to play, I don't know that he'll play 90. So I'll put him as my avoid.
Blayne.
Yeah, I don't really see any players specifically to avoid. I am on the fence about throwing DC versus Philly on the just avoid list altogether. That's a game that could go 3-0 either way, and it's so hard to predict with the way those teams play. Best guess, I think you see something like a 1-1 draw here, and you crapshoot on if you get the right guy that scores the goal.
All right, best game for points.
Atlanta versus LA. I think you go heavy in on Atlanta. No Zlatan, three players out. The Atlanta defense has looked pretty good at home.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's where I'm going for a lot of my points this week.
All right, well, let's find out which people you are going for to, with hope, get all of your points. So, Blayne, let's start out. Keepers, defenders, and shutout chances.
Well, on the back of that Atlanta call, Atlanta's got to be on the shutout list. If you can afford Guzan's my number one pick this week. I've got Vega in my lineup right now as a little bit cheaper option. I do like the system, and I think that's going to play havoc with Columbus. So that's my second shout this week. Until Mike said Brad Smith came off early, Brad Smith for Seattle was in my lineup. I will probably switch it to one of the other wingbacks from Seattle. I think they're going to be able to tear up Kansas City a little bit. And I just see a lot of good points there. And then I've got Parkhurst and Pines as my other two as a little bit cheaper options. With LGP out, Parkhurst is probably going to come in, and at 4.8 in a good matchup, that's just too good to pass up.
Mike?
Yeah, right now, I'm kind of on similar thoughts as Blayne. I have Guzan and Vega in a Keeperoo. For defenders, I have Abdul Salam for the Seattle Sounders. I'm not sure if he'll play, but if not, I can switch to Tolo. Assuming that either one of them plays. I think one of the two will at least play. I have Lima in there starting, and then as the keeper, I have Parker since he's the first game up, and then I have Hoyt from FC Cincinnati. They're playing against Vancouver, and he's $4 million, so he's cheap and allows me to do other stuff. So that's what I'm thinking there.
Yeah, I think you guys covered some of the basic options. What I loved about Smith and what I didn't realize he left either, Blayne, but what I loved about him was that he lined up in midfield in the last game. And so that's what I really loved about him. So I am still going to keep an eye on Smith just to see what happens. Like maybe I'll purposefully get enough money or keep enough money so I can put him on the bench and maybe have something available for a switcheroo or something. But I don't know. That was definitely tweet out what you hear back about him, because that's just an awesome option to have, because he's been doing well.
Yeah, Patrick said Keehee is the same price as Smith. So if you do get stuck with Smith, it's the last game of the round.
There you go.
That's it. That's a good like-for-like swap, same money. Yeah, great suggestion there. Abdul Salam's another one. You may not be saving money, but if you like what he brings, there's some other options there at the end.
Yeah, he plays on the right.
Yeah.
I mentioned before that I was looking at Vancouver, maybe being able to get a clean sheet against FC Cincinnati. I'm looking at Godoy and Adnan as two of the players that I like. They're both cheap. Pretty much everybody on Vancouver is cheap. But if I did run with that, I would put one of them in the field, likely Adnan, and then put the other one on the bench for the swap, for a switcheroo right there.
On that vein, I forgot to mention it. I've got Nerwinski on the bench from Vancouver. 4.0, put him in that scrub spot. But a 4.0 scrub that has a chance of a clean sheet is never bad.
For sure.
Even if you don't bring him in, that could be easy money off the bench, too.
Yeah, going through some of the other teams, we talked about Atlanta, LA Galaxy. I think you could easily try to go with an Atlanta player, like they mentioned as well. They have a good shot with some of the offensive power being missing from LA Galaxy. I worry about Red Bulls and Toronto on both sides, since both teams can score, and just what happened to Red Bulls last week against Columbus. New England, while they're on a roll, I'm still scared of Villa, and so that's just not a shot that I really want to go with. I toyed about Orlando, Dallas, and this is just what I can't decide. Is Dallas has struggled some with their production, but I don't really care for Orlando's keeper options, so I don't know who it might be either. So, but that could be a flyer if someone's looking for something different. You could look at Orlando and Dallas. I would lean more towards Orlando having the better shot than Dallas, because they're at home and because I have some more faith in people like Dwyer and Nani than on the Dallas side. I would have thought Colorado could have been a decent shot, but with Piatti back into the mix now, even going to altitude, Colorado has allowed goals, so I don't know there. You're exactly right, Mike. The best way to sum up this whole round is you've got like some good teams versus good teams and bad teams versus bad teams, and that's a lot of what we see, especially with some of the absences that are available. So those are some thoughts that I hope help people in the defender section right there. So let's move on to midfielders, Mike.
All right. I have a bunch of kind of like cheap mids this week because I spent a lot on my forwards. So starting off, I have Vaco. He's been on a tear recently. Still 8.7, still super cheap. Next up, I have Lapaline. Lassie, 7.5. He's got a 14-point average. I'm not convinced about Colorado's defense. And I think on the road, I think Montreal's play style kind of helps them when they go on the road. So worst comes worst, he's going to get me a price rise, so I'll take it. Then I have Pania from the Revolution. I kind of wanted to keep someone for the Revs with how good they are and them being at home, but I couldn't afford Heel. So Pania has been pretty consistent too and has been riding that whole wave too. So I figure I can get him some points there. And then I have Ladero for as good as Seattle has been and as bad as Sporting Kansas City's been. And then I have Keaton Parks on the bench because he's 5.4, and it'll be a pretty easy switch in if something happens.
Blayne.
Yeah, I started off with Ladero. I'm big on the Atlanta group this week, and I like Gressel for this one. I just think the way that they play, he's going to be the better midfield option. He and Pitti are around the same price. I just see more production from him this week. I do have Heel from New England. I think it's worth the splurge. I don't think any of the other guys can produce quite like he does. And so I think if you're going to go with the New England guy, you've got to take him at this spot. Vaco's my fourth midfielder. It's hard to bet against him, especially with the way Columbus has been playing lately. And then I'm torn between Lapalainen and a third forward. That's kind of my trade-off there. I could use the value gain, so I may have to go with him. Playing at altitude and the way Colorado tends to play, that could be a trap, but it is a good money pick if you've got the extra cash to spend on the moderate price midfielder to fill out your roster.
Copy paste Blayne, because that's exactly what I was thinking as far as the four main guys. Heel, Ladero, Vaco, and Gressel are the first people that I was looking at as well. If you're looking for some other names to throw around right now, I'm going to throw out Ledesma up in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing well offensively for them, so he's sub $9 million, and with Vancouver's traditional production, that could be an option that really works for a lot of people's budgets. Tomas Martinez down in Houston has been someone who we've gone back and forth with throughout the season. He's done really well. 4 points last week for him, so not the greatest week, but he's going to get Chicago, who got a clean sheet, I believe, last week, or at least they didn't. I don't know. They didn't do as bad as I thought they would.
Yeah, clean sheet and a 0-0 against DC.
Yeah, so there we go. I thought it was a clean sheet. But so there could be some opportunities there, though, for Houston against Chicago, because they have struggled at times there. Normally, I'd look at Minnesota at home for some cheaper midfielder options, but I believe Quintero is going to be missing this game due to yellow card accumulation, and they're going up against Portland, who's been on a roll. So I'm not as big on Minnesota this week. So I'm not really looking there, but that was just some budget options to throw out there for everybody else, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Two more names, since Reid, you and I kind of doubled up on that. Pomacall for Dallas, it's a road game, but that's not a bad matchup for him at all, and he's in that sub 8.5 range. The other guy who's gotten a couple of starts lately seems to be getting more regular minutes is Tommy McNamara down in Houston. And I think Elise is still out for one more game. I know McNamara got a 2 the last time, but he got is he back? I thought he got 2 games tacked on.
I think he just got one more game tacked on.
I thought it was 2. I thought it was 2 tacked on. That's where I was coming from. Anyway, watch that lineup at 5.4. He could be a huge steal. He's got an 11 and a 2 for his last 2 games as a starter. So it's kind of a toss-up. But that 2 came against Seattle. Chicago doesn't have the same defense, especially on the road. So decent value pickup right there.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks. I think we covered a lot of good things there. And you're right. Paxton is the Dallas player to pick, in my opinion, when you're first looking for them. So let's go to forwards now. Blayne.
Yeah, I want more information on Rui Diaz, because that's what's really hurting me here. I think you got to load up on Seattle if he's healthy. That's one of your better matchups. But I've got Martinez in there with him. Lapalainen was a potential toss-up with Wando. That's just one. I want to have both of them, but I can't afford both of them. So it's not that. If I probably will have to switch out Rui Diaz, knowing it's a concussion, he is probably gone. I will probably upgrade my scrub and run a switcheroo and grab somebody like White. I may go to Josie on the road, but that just doesn't seem to sit well. But it'll probably be somebody like Wando and White, and run 2 a bit cheaper options and see what happens.
Interesting. Mike.
So I also have Joseph Martinez. I also have Carlos Vela. I know he's on the road, but I mean, with what he's been doing this year, I can't justify leaving him out unless it's a double game week. And then I have Albert Elise, and I did confirm he is available this week. He's just given an additional game suspension, which he served against Seattle, so he is available this week. And I think the Chicago Fire are bad, considering how Elise is going to be rested. And he's 10.2. I think that's an interesting opportunity. So going with maybe a little bit of a differential pick there.
No, that's a good one. I like it. I really struggled with my forward picks this week. The only one I'm really settled on is Martinez. I do like him, even though I wasn't sold to him a few weeks ago. I think he'll do pretty well against the weekend LA team, and he's getting back into the groove, of course, as well. So I like Martinez for this week. And you guys have touched on the other options. I don't like Bo as much against LAFC. He might be able to get one or an assist or something, maybe connecting with Heel, but I don't know. I don't like them as much against LA's defense, so they'll probably get a hat trick. That's how that works. So no, those are Joseph's my only definite, and then I'm looking at someone like you guys were talking about, Wando or Elise, or I may just roll with one and upgrade my midfield completely. So and try to go with a big baller group right there, and then try to play something weird on Vancouver with the background. But I'm not sold on all the forwards this week. Captains, Blayne.
I've currently got it on Ladero.
Mike.
Me too.
And I make 3, even though I know we do like to say always Captain Vela on the road against a much improved New England. And as I mentioned before, sharing points with a lot of other players, not the best. However, Ladero against not in form Sporting Kansas City, and they'll be without Espinoza, correct? Straight red card?
Yep.
That is something that factors in, I think, well for Ladero. So,
now,
all right.
While we're here, I want to point out that I called you guys out when I missed a show a couple weeks ago that everybody said Vela or was it Pozuelo because I was gone, and then Joseph Martinez came out and had a monster week. So I think we all have to say Martinez has got to be on the radar. LA with all those absences, I think we doing a good service.
Says the guy who's like, I'm going to run with cheap forwards this week.
And Martinez.
Fine. No, for sure. He was the first player I put into my team. So when I was talking down about him a few weeks ago in my newsletter, it was based on a lot of other premium forwards that had great chances at having good weeks, and a lot of them did. Joseph did do very well. I think he might have gotten the highest score, but I mean, I still think there were a lot of players who had a really great shot at doing well, and so I don't think he was as necessary at that time as I think he is one of the only easy go-to forward this round. All right, chat, throwing it off to you. What else are you thinking as far as player picks? What did we miss? What do you want to hear us talking about? We mentioned Kihi. That's a definite lock in. We talked about Abdus Salam. Do not trust our defense in Seattle is what Ron says. Royer didn't talk about much about the Red Bulls against Toronto. Is there anybody we should be looking at there? We mentioned White. What about Royer?
I mean, that's an interesting pick. I mean, I just think there are so many cheap midfielders this week. It's just kind of hard for me to put them in, especially because Toronto hasn't been too bad since they got Omar Gonzalez in. So, I mean, he's 9.2, so he's not too bad. Every time I pick up Royer, he doesn't score. He gets like a total dud of a game. So, I don't think he's one of the top options, but I mean, I understand why people would look there.
Yeah, he's just a little too pricey for me. When you can get Vaco for cheaper. I mean, there's other. I mean, Areola for DC's probably got a better matchup this week playing Philly, unless the Philly defense shows up. I mean, there's so many other options that I like. Palma calls in that it's a little cheaper, and a lot less risk. If I'm going to spend $9 million for a player, I really kind of want to know they're going to have a solid week, and I just don't trust him against Toronto that much.
So we got another one. Patrick mentioned that he did not have enough for Ladero, so he has to have Roldan currently. Now, we all said he was a captain pick, so I don't think we're willing to compromise on Ladero. If you are looking someplace else, who would you use as a backup for Ladero if you stayed with Seattle, if you would even stay with Seattle? Would it be Roldan?
If it's in Seattle, yeah, I think Roldan's your number 2. I'm pulling up his price right now.
I mean, for me, I would swap it to Heel or to like Pozuelo. I wouldn't take Roldan right now.
Yeah, the question is, though, if you can't afford Ladero, you got to switch over. Heel's still there. Roldan's at 9.1. Again, you get into that same question you have with Royer. Do you like Roldan more than you like Vaco at 8.7? If it's a matter of I already have Vaco in my team and then I'm looking for one more, yeah, I think Roldan's probably one of your highlights from that around 9 million price point. Again, I'd probably go with Michale over Roldan this week, although Sporting is looking really bad right now, so you may want to just gang up on him and get your points that way. It's just Roldan's kind of hit or miss on the scoring, and if Sporting's attacking through him, he'll get a lot of points. But if he's kind of isolated out of the defensive role, he may not get the points.
Yep, that makes sense. We have, let's see, I just missed it. Ryan points out that Philadelphia let in 4 against Montreal. So is Rooney not a viable forward option?
I just think I don't know that result tells us a whole lot about Philly. I mean, other than like what we knew before, which is that they've been struggled without Montero. I mean, that seems like Montreal's counterattacking quick, getting Piatti back, getting a brand new forward in with Lassie. I don't know that that's replicable by DC. I mean, DC's kind of struggled all year. So I don't think that result is instructive. So I'm not looking at Rooney this week.
I mean, I think you can look at Rooney. He was one of those names that's popped into my head to replace Rui Diaz with. But I still like this Philadelphia defense a lot more than the 4-0 result shows. I mean, you could put that 4-0 result to a lack of game tape on Lassie and getting Piatti back, and just something MLS hasn't seen yet. There was no tape on that, and how do you plan for a guy you've never seen that comes in and does what Lassie did in his first game? I mean, we look at other newcomers to MLS, and they do absolutely nothing in the first half season they're here when they come in the summer, or they come in and take a few games to get adjusted. It takes a special guy to really come in and have that type of impact in the first game. So, yeah, I don't expect DC to run over Philly like Montreal just did.
And of course, we have some people who are mentioning names in chat right now. With the reason I'm sure is just because they want me to say this name and see if I butcher it. No, he's definitely doing well. So Montreal's value forward, Okonkwo, is someone that people are wondering about. I think it's a fair shot if you're looking for a switcheroo option. Okonkwo is currently 6.7. He got on to the score sheet twice last week. I believe he got 2 of the goals. And if Piatti is back and he's going to be able to getting service, that could very well happen. He's on the road this week against Colorado, which, as I did say, they've been scoring goals, but they've also been allowing goals. So could be an opportunity for him. It would have to be the switcheroo for me, though, if you're going to go for that, because I just don't think you bet that much on a starter on the road in altitude like that. But I'll say it one more time, Okonkwo, and I think I'm pretty close with that one. Mike, Blayne, you guys want to add anything to that?
No, I'm going to let you just stay at that pronunciation.
Oh, right. Thanks so much.
I'm getting in trouble.
Well, that's all that we're going to have for the show tonight. A little bit longer, but we did enjoy the questions and the conversation. So thank you so much. We'll stay here live in the chat a little bit longer to continue to talk with people, but we'll end our podcast right here with the plugs. Blayne.
Yeah. I want to do this a little different this time. I want to give a big shout out to Carlos Cadera from U.S. Soccer. He came out with a big statement today about just the state of the finances and dropped a lot of numbers. And I don't want to get into the politics of it here, but the way he handled that and just coming out with some solid numbers and kind of doing an internal audit, they got an accounting firm to come in and look at that, has been huge. It's been a point of contention in the soccer community in the United States, and I'm just glad to see them taking that step and giving a lot of information on that. So if you haven't read his letter, go find it. It's all over Twitter right now. A lot of the talking heads have been commenting about it. I'm not trying to take sides on it here. It's just it was very well written and very well done, and I think it's worth it for anybody in the soccer community and MLS in general just to go read and see kind of what's going on there.
Mike.
Well, some people may have noticed in the past, but people were not using the hashtag MLS Injury News. So I have kicked out of the cobwebs at MLS Injury News. So you can actually add it to the account, and hopefully people, especially because yellow card accumulation is the big thing. Like, I had no idea that Zlatan had gotten suspended for yellow card accumulation, because that's just one of those things that's really, really hard to keep track of. So especially that, and weird injury news that you can see, at me so I can put it on the account and share it with us here, everyone here.
And of course, for me, you can check out everything over at MLSFantasyBoss.com with the behind the numbers article that we get every week. And my article, usually I'm trying to get up there with the ELO numbers. And then we've got the captain picks and of course the podcast over there. But please do head over to our Discord chat for MLS Fantasy Insider. It's a great community. You can access that from the MLSFantasyBoss.com webpage over in the right sidebar. Fantastic people to talk to, bounce ideas off of, or just have general friendly non-soccer related chat as well. So check that out. Please subscribe to my newsletter if that is something that you want to help support and to keep that fun project going on. It's supposed to be a little bit more personal. So if you have questions, send them out to me. Let me know what your questions are that you'd like to hear me cover in the newsletter. I'd be happy to do that to make sure it's focused at the fantasy market, fantasy player market, the older experienced players, the newer, younger players, or anybody in between. Any question is fair game. And the final announcement I'm going to make is, of course, that this is the last week that we will be recording our podcast using Google Hangouts through YouTube. We are still planning to broadcast live through YouTube, which should be capturing our recording to be able to edit and post, but we're going to be doing the broadcasting or connecting with our chat a little bit different using our Discord server. So it might look a little different. We hope that we still have at least the same quality, maybe increased quality as far as name pronunciations go, but we're still going to try to provide same content, and that's the plan going forward. So I hope it helps. Good luck. Okay, that is the podcast. And so what's going on, chat? Any other questions, things we didn't cover, so that you want to really talk about now that we're going? Haven't seen anybody talk for a little while, which makes me wonder if something happened.
I can still see the chat.
I can see the chat, but I don't know if people are talking.
Yeah. Anyone know how to fix a camera? Like, it was the weirdest thing. Like, it just stopped. It was like, nope, we don't recognize the camera anymore. Camera not detected.
Have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in?
It's part of the monitor. I don't have a separate webcam.
Reinstall the driver.
Any defender's worth. So Liam asked about defense. Liam, I don't know why that didn't pop up until I fooled around with the video right here, or the window size here. So I mentioned I'm considering doubling up on Vancouver just to try to see if they can maybe do something against reboot. I can't reboot. Oh, you're talking about Mike. If I'm thinking about maybe Vancouver, because there might be some shenanigans there with Cincinnati. I wouldn't start both of them, though. As far as that, maybe Atlanta with LA missing some of their oomph, but that's kind of an expensive line to double up on, and Atlanta might not have LGP, so maybe not quite as strong there. Otherwise, I don't think there's a lot of teams worth doubling up. No clear winners. Maybe San Jose if you want to go that route. But if you do double up on someone, regardless of who it is, I think you have to put one guy on the bench and just use it as a switcheroo option. You missed this live session next week, I guess. Oh, no, Bennett, sorry. Oh, no. Yes, definitely catch us next week, 9:30 Eastern time. I know it's a little bit late maybe for some people over here on the East Coast. A little bit more convenient, I guess, for some of you all out west. I don't know. Maybe. Works for Blayne.
Yeah, it works for me. But I'm Midwest. I'm only an hour behind you, so.
He's not really west. Pshaw. Atlanta defense best option should be Robinson Escobar. Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's for sure. What about the crazy calls this week? That like going through just listening to Bobby and Weeby talk about that was crazy. Just seeing all that stuff. Like you watch it and see some of the games. Like I don't watch all the games either. I catch a few of them, but then to have it all condensed right there to see Weeby and Bobby talk about it's just crazy. You look at all that stuff.
I haven't gotten to watch instant replay yet, which kind of makes me sad. But from what I've gathered, there were a ton of crazy calls.
Cat dude from Seattle. Oh, Simon. You mean Simon, Ron? What happened to Cat dude from Seattle? Yes. So Simon, he works in radio for real. It's his career, and he does some like house music and other things. But no, he's got his own little projects that he was working on. So he's still on Twitter if you want to see him. But I don't know exactly what projects he's working on now. But yeah, Simon is a good dude. And little thing you may not know about Simon, he likes shoes and he likes expensive shoes. So he will easily splurge and drop like $700 on a pair of shoes. So
that's crazy.
Dude likes shoes. The dude likes shoes. So it's all good. A good pair of shoes is definitely pretty good. See, so the All-Star team follows the always Captain Vela philosophy. I love that. Yeah, San Jose Coulter definitely could be a double. Oh, yeah, if you want to consider your defense double option to be a keeper plus a defender, for sure. Yeah, going for a defensive unit. Definitely. So you're talking about, Patrick, the Atlanta call. The way Bobby was talking about it was if you're calling the penalty, you're calling it on Robinson, not on anybody else, because Robinson was inside and that's where his contact came in for it. So and when you look at the replays, I mean, it looks like both legs get swept out from under him, but I mean, that's a forward's job to try to get those fouls called. So,
and you know Vela's going to get those calls.
Oh, for sure. But I don't know. Maybe we should take a little hands up poll right now. What is that? A dolphin? I like that. That's a cool little thing. I don't care about diving. That is not something that bothers me. Forward's job is to score, and that's part of it. And it's just something you got to know about as a defender and not put yourself into those positions. So,
if refs were better, then the forwards wouldn't have to dive.
Hey, maybe you could, and you know what? You could have a legit argument that maybe they're not penalizing dives enough, just like the scissor tackles aren't getting penalized enough. But I have absolutely zero problem with people diving.
I'm with Mike. Diving is a result of poor officiating. If a guy gets his legs taken out and the ref doesn't call it, or if a guy gets taken off his stride enough and the ref doesn't see it, the natural reaction is to start going down when you get taken off your stride in order to make sure the ref sees it and gives you the call. If refs would make the calls when they're supposed to be made, you wouldn't see guys dive because there's no reason to. The refs are taking care of it before it happens.
We'll see.
And I mean, it happens in every sport. I mean, whether it's wide receivers in the NFL, basketball players or the NBA. I mean, they're all going to try to get the ref's attention to get fouls and penalty calls.
Yeah.
I think the game is just too fast at this point for most officials. And that's why, I mean, across all sports, officiating is pretty bad. I mean, I think it's in part because it's
robots.
just like jobs.
I mean, I missed the idea. We went to video review, but I missed the old idea that UEFA had where they went to 5 officials or 6 officials if you count the 4th official, and they put one on each end line, and their goal was to watch the box and check for goal line situations. Like that was their entire job. And from what I remember of them being there, they did a good job of catching a lot of those penalties that a ref can't see when he's 30 yards behind the play and obstructed by a couple of bodies. You had somebody on the other end of the play looking straight into it, and they could more easily see it. I thought that was the better solution than going to technology, but my opinion doesn't matter.
No, Ryan, I don't think Hill versus LAFC is too expensive at 12.3. I think he's a solid option. LA can get scored on, but if nothing else, he can at least generate bonus points. I would be surprised if LA gave up 1 and having Hill be part of that build-up.
With the way they're playing, I kind of expect another 4-3 game. I think the New England defense is a little shaky, and LAFC coming in could be that. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say expect that because I didn't pick any of the LAFC players, but I mean, you could see a 3-2, 4-3, some big scores. The question I have for New England is, can they stop LAFC well enough? And I'm kind of thinking they can, but I think at home with the way they've been scoring, I think New England putting up 2, maybe 3 against LA is not out of the question either.
Organized, yeah. Let's see here. There was something else that... Shoot, I was thinking about something, and then I got distracted, wondering if there was a Star Wars Book Club YouTube channel.
Star Wars Explained is essentially a Star Wars Book Club channel.
I mean, I was thinking, Mike, like we could just start rereading through the Thrawn series, just like a chapter, and then we record an episode and like discuss the chapter and just have that be a side project.
So
there does need to be more discussion of Star Wars books. That is like one of the bad things, I think, because like everyone like waits a while. It's hard to do like timely content on books, but like I feel like a good discussion of like Star Wars literature would be fun.
You almost have to do it when the paperback comes out because I'm in the paperback camp. I wait for them.
Oh my gosh, good hardback book.
But then you've got the people like, you guys are really into these books. How long does it take you to read them? A week? 2 weeks?
I got a backlog.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
I do have a backlog. It like when I start, like, and I actually get time, and if, of course, it's been slower for me recently because, I'm used to reading in bed, but I can't read a literal book in bed right now because the lights are off for the baby to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really need ebooks, guys. I really need that screen.
Ron, you reminded me what I was going to say, going back to diving and officiating and all that kind of stuff. Is the goal that you all who are listening and you guys want, do you want a perfectly officiated game or a perfect in the big moments? Or like I guess that's what I like the imperfections that non-review, non-VAR, human 3 referees bring to a game. The preservation of that water cooler talk, those big moments in history that we see in replays on the news that are part of history because of them not being called. And it's something that we all talk about. It all brings us together. I mean, some people want consistency, but like, is consistency defined by perfection? Is that what people want? Is that what you want? Is that what we want? That's what I always wonder.
Well, consistency to me is really difficult because, especially with all of these rules, there's too much subjectivity put into them. So you can't really get. I mean, it's true for law, it's true for sports. Any kind of rules that you set up, it's very hard to have consistency every single time, unless you have the same ref every single time, and that's not possible. To me, my frustration with VAR has been the way that some refs try to use it to be perfect. Like take for instance, like last week, Vela get the goal at the LA Galaxy. He may or may not have been onside, and they didn't review that, which I thought was great because it was clearly like really close on the line. You know what? He's probably off, but we can't. It's not like a super obvious error that they just totally missed. I like that. I hate when you get a big goal and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're going to try to do the soccer trigonometry thing here to see if he was like an inch off. Because that's what happened in the UCL game, and I'm Reid is happy about it, but it's like, was Sergio off a little bit? Oh no, that great moment, everyone was cheering. Screw that, he might have been off an inch. That's the kind of moments that you lose when you do stupid stuff like that, and that's where I feel like VAR isn't doing well because it's getting so ticky-tack sometimes. It's like, oh, wait a minute, did it actually kind of bump into his arm in the box? That's where like some commentators are starting to say, and I'm interested if this tactic ever develops, it forwards to just start shooting it at players' arms to try to see if they can draw a penalty. Because that's what VAR has seemed to like really hyper focus. And you don't blame the refs because they're getting graded on this like perfection scale. And so if they miss it now with VAR, it's like, well, you gotta have to review it. So that's kind of what
Patrick just said clear and obvious are the key words, and that was kind of my thing to answer your question, Reid, about perfect officiating. I want them to get the obvious calls right. If the guy's 3 yards offside, I don't want there to be any ambiguity on that. He's 3 yards offside, you've got to make that call. If it's that split decision, just like in baseball, just like it's been with the offside rule before VAR, tie goes to the offense. There's some leeway in there, and those judgment calls are what make things exciting. They are what help. And when it's a split-second judgment calls, that's got to be on the ref. That can't be on video. And when it's not clear and obvious, you don't go to video anyway. So those are the plays that I like having in sports. But when it is pretty clear and obvious, that's what they need to clean up. And that's why VAR is there, to make sure that some of those bad ones are weeded out. But as we've seen with Pro and MLS, it's not always handled properly.
Yeah, but if it was clear and obvious, then why would they need it?
That's the thing. They need it because
it's clear and obvious for us with that bird's eye view look, but down there on the field in the heat, even the linesman might be looking at something else going on, but the ball gets kicked and he can't turn quick enough to make that call. But that's the slippery slope of clear and obvious for offsides. Okay, we can get that done. Okay, well, clear and obvious for a foul in the box. Well, where did it start? Where did that contact? How close to the box? Did he I don't know. If it was so clear and obvious, then that seems to be the argument against needing it.
Yeah.
Because if you have to have the camera, then it clearly was not clear or obvious.
There are times
it was obvious, but it wasn't clear.
There are times where like refs just miss calls.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and so those like are still clear and obvious ones. But if you're starting to like debate it all, like it shouldn't be. Like if you need to like do slow motion replays, like more than one replay, like it's not clear and obvious.
Sure. I guess this is what it comes down to. Of course, it can be clear and not. Back to fantasy. Ryan wants to say, who do you like more this week, Bo or Rooney? That's a good question.
Bo.
Yeah.
FC? Yeah, because LAFC, for as good as they've been as a team, it's been a good offensive team. Their defense has not been as good, and they've let in a bunch of goals recently. So, especially New England at home, I think he's better. Whereas, DC have been really struggling themselves offensively. So I would rather take the hot forward against, even though it's a good team, as opposed to taking Rooney against Philly.
I'd probably take Rooney if I had the money for him over Bo, but Bo being a little bit cheaper has had that appealing side to him. But I mean, if it was a choice between the two and I had the money for Rooney, I'd take Rooney.
I like Patrick's answer. Neither, but probably Bo. Narrator, he took neither. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's 11 o'clock here. Really appreciate it. Next week, we are going to be using Discord, so a little bit different, maybe view and how all this looks. It's supposed to stream to YouTube, so I might start a little bit early to try to make sure everything's working properly. But the plan is to continue as normal next week, the 5th of August. So, yeah, Martinez Vela, of course. Sorry. So that's the plan. Thank you much, everyone, for coming out. Tell your friends, spread it around, send this out on Twitter. We'd love to get a really robust chat going. Love talking with you all, but the more people, the better. We're growing a community here, so that's just part of what we're doing. So thank you so much, everybody, and good luck.